a feeling that nobody understands. Now, what I mean by that is there's been a kind of lingering feeling going on for me recently, and I know that a lot of people feel this way because I've seen copious amounts of videos and people talking about this feeling. There isn't exactly a name for it. I mean, people like to rope it in with loneliness, isolation, tall poppy syndrome, being the outcast, whatever you kind of want to say. But what I'm specifically referring to is the kind of lapse in perspective for people who don't feel the same way about something you're into. Now, I'm not talking about the common interests here. I'm not talking about, oh, I like this song and you don't like that song, so that means we can't be friends. I'm more talking about when what you're into, what you do with your life, how you spend your time is something that people just do not understand because they just don't see it the same way you do. The kind of rift that causes between you. As someone who's obviously not taking a traditional path when it comes to what I want to do, it's very easy to be in a group of people, whether it's friends of friends, gatherings with kind of people I'm not that close to, a couple I am close to. It's very, very quick that I find I can feel very isolated in those group settings, because when they talk about what they're doing, they're already talking about their degrees, their universities, their jobs and stuff like that. And this is all stuff that's very kind of surface level. And this isn't a diss on uni degrees or careers and stuff like that. Nothing at all like that. But when I say surface level, I more mean a more traditional route that has been around for a long time, that people know the legitimacy in. Something that they know makes a good amount of money, know that there's copious amounts of studies and people doing the same degrees. So when you say, for example, to someone, I'm going to be a lawyer, it is a lot easier for someone to say, oh, awesome, how's the studying going? Because they know there are a lot of lawyers out there. There's a lot of successful lawyers. You have to be smart to be a lawyer. You have to do well in school. Like, there's a lot of foundation built up on being a lawyer or a doctor, for example. So when people say I'm doing this, it's easier for someone to accept that because it's such a normalized standard route that's also a very respectable profession due to the effort, time, and knowledge it takes to get there, right? Whereas someone asks you, hey, what do you want to do? And you say, oh, yeah, I make YouTube videos talking about life. Oh, so do you like study? Do you like work? Like, these are kind of like situations and things where people will respond when you tell something like that. And this is not to say that I've received copious amounts of backlash from group conversations. It's not like it's just some awkward thing where I'm just sitting there like, oh yeah, I'm a YouTuber, guys. It's nothing like that, but there's been times obviously like that. And I find that whenever I talk to people about career-based things, because that's unfortunately what a lot of people want to talk about these days, I find it very hard to not feel that rift. And I often find myself having to kind of change the topic of conversation to be a little bit more focused on their side of the career, or at the very least take it off topic to something a little bit more mutual in terms of interest. You know, like if me and this person are a big fan of sports and they want to talk about a career, I'll pivot it over to sports because that's something that I can contribute to, right? And they can contribute to that as well. So it's a little bit more of a free-form conversation that doesn't feel like I'm trying to force a response or force act like I know anything they're talking about. And this is hard when you're in a group setting with people all in a very similar field, because it is very quick to feel like you have no fucking idea what they're talking about. And you know, such is life. Sometimes you just haven't met the right people. You don't have people in that field or friends doing the same thing. It can be very isolating. But I feel like the thing that is the hardest to deal with and the most frustrating part about this, it's not that you can't get along with the more kind of acquaintance and random people. It's when it's with your closest people, you know, your family, your friends, and their response to when they talk to you about what you're doing and you tell them and it's just like, oh, that's cool, and then they disregard it and don't care. That's the most frustrating part, because to them, not everybody, a lot of people only look at your metric of success by either foundation, a degree, or how much you make. And unfortunately, that's not going to change anytime soon. So you can imagine, you know, something you're passionate about or something that you spend a lot of time doing and putting effort into, when you try to talk to that person, whether they're a close friend or family member, and you're telling them about it and they just seem disinterested, or they just don't really want to understand it because all they care about is, oh, how much does it make? It can be an incredibly frustrating and insignificant inward feeling that you get, Because you can imagine being in a group with your closest friends and all of them are talking about studying this, studying that, working this, working that. And then when they ask you what you've done for the day, you can say, oh, I did this or I did that. And that's not to say there's anything wrong with that, but it's a very isolating feeling. And the worst part of it as well, if you don't have people doing the kind of same route, you're kind of struck where you can only really do what you've already done. You can talk to people, but if they don't understand it to the same degree you do, or they don't see the point in it, it's also hard for them to really give you any advice. Sometimes they can just listen to you vent and that's it. There's nothing else they can really do, because it's not like they get it to the same degree you do. It's not like they see the hunger or they see the vision or they see the drive in it. So you can also use this example when it comes to meeting people with varying interests. Sometimes you might be super into gaming, for example, and then you meet a bunch of people who think gaming is pointless and for kids. So when you try to talk to them about hobbies and they're talking about, oh yeah, I go wakeboarding, and you say, oh yeah, I play Minecraft, they're kind of like, oh, it's like the difference in worlds kind of it's very apparent. And that doesn't mean you can't get along with people and still have good friends. And there's nothing wrong with if you don't do what the other person does. But it makes it increasingly harder to hold connection or grow connection with people who just don't see the point in what you're doing. And, that doesn't mean everybody is a realist who thinks that, the safer route or doing this and having a boring life is the only way to live. That doesn't mean like that. People don't really care what you do most of the time. People want you to enjoy life and do what you want to do. But there are also a lot of people who don't want to hear it when it comes to things about livelihood. And while I'm at it, I'll also mention as well, just to make sure we're on the same page, you should always be realistic when it comes to what you're doing. It doesn't mean don't do what you want to do in life. Of course, that is the number one priority, and that is the thing that will fulfill you the most. Obviously, don't put yourself in financial ruin. Don't put yourself in a terrible situation just because you feel as if picking up a couple extra shifts or doing something in the background is going to deteriorate the goal that much. There are times where it might, so being able to judge objectively on your situation is important, but obviously don't just do nothing and say, I'm going to do this and then do nothing else in the background, because that's not going to get you anywhere. That's not being smart. That's being delusional. And sometimes being delusional to that degree works, and it really does work. But also being able to be grounded, smart with money, being able to understand, I still need to pay for this, I need to pay for that. If, something goes wrong, hospital bills, car bills, rent, family aid, whatever, you never know, right? My brother is very big into being safe and putting in a situation where you understand that if something fucks up, something goes wrong, you have that to fall back on. And I was kind of raised that way, so I do understand that to a degree. But it's also being able to understand that the world is built on art and ambition. The most happy people in life are usually people doing what they love. And I know that a lot of people have issues finding what they love. But once you have found what you love, it's like an intoxicating feeling of, I don't want to do anything else but this. If anything, sometimes the only thing people truly have besides themselves is their love for something. Now, whether that's a person or an art form or whatever it is, that's up to you to decide. But for me, when I think about what I have in my life and what I feel is of value, it's stuff like this. Because to me, people can say what they want about it, but at the end of the day, I still do it. Even if there's days where I'm demotivated and I feel like not doing it, or feel like it's not working or whatever it may be, that doesn't ruin my love of it. That just ruins how I feel about where it's at. If you truly love something, you keep doing it. I don't know. And look, a lot of you don't know this, but I've been doing YouTube since 2015. I've been doing YouTube for damn near 10 years now? Just trying to chase a dream. And of course, this was before unRealistic, and this is when I was a lot younger. But I've always been doing it. And I never ever didn't want to do it. There was times where I was lazy and I felt, what I was doing was becoming soulless, and I stopped doing it. Never with this, but with other videos. But I never lost the love for it. I never lost the vision of, that 100k YouTube plaque. I never lost the vision of being able to wake up and say, I'm a YouTuber, I do this, I do that. When I see some of these YouTubers talking about their passion and seeing the way that, people talk so highly of them, it makes me think that even through all of the doubt and the ostracization that you feel in this profession, it reminds me that there are also people that they look up to in the same profession, which is why, to me, I never really understood why people look down on it so much. And this is not to say that I receive massive backlash and get, harassed about it. But there are obviously times where people would just not want to hear it. Like, oh, be realistic, do this, do that. And these are the same people who felt nothing in their life from being realistic. They didn't amount to very much. And that's not to hate on the people put me down. But, I even asked them, like, are you happy that you worked this amount of time in your lifetime? Are you happy? Did this fulfill you with anything? And most of the time they don't have an answer. So I say all of this to say that there is always going to be this massive rift feeling of being misunderstood. And it's because some people just want to work in a good career. And even when it's your closest friends and you try to talk to them about anything and they just don't have an interest because either one, they just really don't give a fuck, or they just don't understand how you can obsess over it that much, I just kind of have to deal with that and move on. The only thing I want to talk about from my own point of view is my ambitions. And not to say I go around talking all my dreams and what I'm going to accomplish, but specifically when people ask me what I get up to, I love to talk about the intricate details about what I do. Do I think they're going to care enough to want to hear it? Probably not. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's being able to understand that it's a two-way road. And just as much as I may feel isolated from them because of what I do, they might feel isolated from me, feeling like they don't really know what to say because it's not like they have that air of relatability due to their own profession being more on the kind of traditional side. It's always a two-way road, so it's never good to just assume that you're some fucking lone wolf outcast that nobody understands, when sometimes you might not understand them as much as they don't understand you. But look, I say all this to help my people out there who are struggling with people in their lives just, feeling as if they're at distance, whether it's in group outings, with your close friends, with your family, with whoever. All I can say is that try to be a little bit more understanding in the sense of let it ease it up a bit, give it some time. But anyway, that's it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.